Hi there, my name is Miss Harlaberis, and in this video we will watch together one of the most expected exercises when it comes to the AP Pre-Calculus exams, which is what I call by hot exercise. The main concept of this exercise is the following. We will be given a set of data and be asked to, firstly, find a regression model that fits them. This model will be explicitly defined, and it might be a linear model, a logarithmic, an exponential, a quadratic, a third degree, a quartic model. And secondly, it's most likely that we will be asked to use that model to predict values, to estimate values at given input values. But at first, and more specifically, since we are using the CASIO FX CG50, let's see together how all this process is done. So I'm going to begin with a worked example. Let's assume that we were given these data. We have the values of x being 3, 10, 15, 20, and 31, and the corresponding values of y being 19, 26, 30, 46, and 67. We need to create a model. So in step 1, we will go on our GDC and we will go to statistics. Let's go in statistics. I had used it before, so let's clear everything. While in statistics, in list 1, I will plug in the x values, and in list 2, I will plug in the y values. Of course, we might not always have x and y. This might be t and z, years and heights and whatever, but it's the same actual methodology. All the input values, all the values of the variable that is considered to be the independent in list 1, all the values of the dependent variable in list 2. In my case, it's 3, 10, 15, 20, 31, and then 19, 26, 30, 46, and 67. And let me do that in the calculator as well. So 3, 10, 15, 20, 31. And then we go to the y, 19, 26, 30, 46, and 67. And for the sake of this, let me copy it like that. So we have everything we need. It will look like that. Then we will go to the graph. Just click on graph, which is the F1 button. Once we do that, this will pop up. It's the same, but the commands have changed. So now we do see graph 1, graph 2, graph 3, select, and then set. Again, click on graph 1, which is again the F1 button. Now, at this point, the calculator will plot the points that we input in the step before. So now we do have the points plotted. Click on calc, which is again the F1 button. Click on calc, and you see that the thing here is that now it's the point at where the GDC basically asks which model will we need. If we click on X, this stands for the linear model. If we click on X squared, this stands for a quadratic regression model. The linear would have been by F2, the quadratic would have been by F4. If we click on X cubed, it's gonna be a third degree regression model by F5. If we click on F6, it shows more options. So let's click on F6. And let me take that here. Let me do something. Let's take this. Let's draw a box so that we have everything right next to it. So imagine that we clicked the F6 so that we allow ourselves to see more options. And now if I click on the F1, it's gonna be a quartic model. If I click on F2, it's gonna be a logarithmic. If I click on F3, it's gonna be an exponential, then a power model, a sinusoidal model, and we are out of options, and in the end, a logistic model. So you see, you have plenty of options. Once again, remember, how did we end up here? We began by putting our data in list 1 and list 2, graph 1, calc, and now we need to create a model. Let's say that for now, for this example, we will need an exponential. So F6, then X in F3. In this case, it says it also, both of these are exponential models, but we will be mostly working with the A times B to the power of X. The A times B to the power of X can be done by F2. Once we do assume I needed exponential and I needed the exponential of this form, a b to the power of x. Once we click on it, the GDC will create this table. From this table here, we can actually find the equation of our model. Because look, we said that the model that we will be working with is the a times b to the power of x. And here in the GDC, we can clearly see the value of a, which is 16.378 and so on, and the value of b. So if we just need to write the equation of this regression model, then all that we have to do is just substitute this value. So it's going to be 16.378 times 1.047 to the power of x. But remember that this might simply be the first part of the exercise. It's mostly expected that the actual exercise will be find the regression model and then use it to predict a specific value. We are here. The GDC has answered back, has provided us with all the details so that we can actually determine the equation of our model. But let's not stop. Let's click on the draw. Draw, which is the F6 button. F6. Now you see that the GDC actually drew that regression line, regression curve. And now we need to estimate it, estimate when x is, let's say, 18. What should we do? First of all, we will click the Shift button. And once we do that, a new line with commands will appear on the calculator. You see, we have an extra line with trace, zoom, v window, sketch, gsolve. Then we should go to the gsolve, gsolve, which is the F5. And once we click on that, this will pop up. The ycal will pop up. And then all we have to do is click on it. By clicking on that, ycal, which is just the F1, this final window will appear in which the GDC asks from us to input the X value we need. To do that, remember that we wanted to calculate to predict the value when X is 18. Just put 18 here, click on the exe, and that's all. We have finally the predicted value we needed. Let's see. It will look like that. So this thing here tells us that this is the predicted value. And we know that for X equals 18, the predicted value from this regression model will be 37.685. And that's all. Remember, it's not that hard. Let's see the entire detail from the beginning. Assuming that we had to plug in our values, we did them in carefully because we don't have any other indicators that something might go wrong. Okay, so we need to be extra careful on that. On list 1, we plugged in the values of the independent variable. On list 2, the values of the dependent variable. And once we are done with them, we will click graph, graph 1, calc, and then we will determine the regression model that the actual exercise needs from us. Here we assumed that this would have been an exponential model. Unless otherwise stated, we will always be using the F2, the A times B to the power of X. The GDC gives us all the details needed so that we can actually determine the equation itself, but it's not just that. We can directly use the GDC to estimate any single value we need. We will do that by clicking on the draw. The GDC will respond back with that. Then Shift, gsolve, and the value we wanted. We wanted ycal, and now the value we wanted 18 exe, and that's all. All it takes is practice. Be confident that this will certainly be one exercise in the calculator use multiple choice questions or even in the free response ones. So we should grab it already. Practice, practice, practice. And in case you do have any questions you might need to ask, please leave them below in the comment section. As always, thank you for your time.